The morning sun filtered through the kitchen windows of the Miller household, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table where young Tina sat with a focused expression. She was carefully pouring cereal, but the curious part was that she was filling two separate bowls. Her sister, Lauren, watched this display with a look of pure skepticism while leaning against the counter. Lauren asked why she was pouring two bowls of cereal. Tina looked up with innocent eyes and explained that one was for Tracy. Lauren groaned and turned to their mother, Judy, complaining that Tracy was just a stupid imaginary friend the little loser had made up, so she would have someone to talk to. Tina did not miss a beat, her voice dropping to a low, serious tone as she remarked that Tracy did not like that kind of talk at all. She looked directly at Lauren and repeated that Tracy really did not like it. The air in the room seemed to chill for a second, and Judy admitted that the moment was a bit chilling. However, Judy, always the supportive mother, told Lauren that what Tina was doing was perfectly normal for her age. She suggested that Tina was just trying to fill a void in her life. Judy even confessed that when she was little, she had an imaginary friend too. Lauren, never missing an opportunity for a sarcastic remark, asked if that was as opposed to all the real friends Judy had now. Judy sighed, wondering aloud why she even came over to take that kind of abuse. She noticed the laundry was finished and stood up. As she moved, she offered to help Tina since her little friend wanted some milk. Suddenly, a splash echoed through the room. Tina cried out that Tracy thought Judy was being mean. Judy looked down at the mess, but Tina quickly corrected herself, saying it was not Tracy after all, but rather that the cap on the milk carton was loose. Lauren rolled her eyes and muttered that whatever helped them sleep at night was fine by her. Later that day at Berenson's store, the atmosphere was thick with the scent of floor wax and hardware. Bill Miller was staring intensely at a small television screen in the break room. A sports announcer was shouting about a man named Bill Miller who had just successfully flipped his 77th consecutive car, tying a record long believed to be unbreakable. Fitz, Bill's co-worker, watched with him until Bill snapped at him to be quiet, noting the intense pressure on Miller with an 8-year record on the line. Bill whispered that the record was held by him. The moment of glory was interrupted by a voice from the sales floor. A young man in a crisp suit was standing there, looking annoyed. He asked if anybody actually worked there, noting that he had been standing there for 5 minutes and nobody had noticed him. Fitz apologized, but then Bill decided to be a bit mischievous. He called out to everyone to check out the hottie, who had just walked in. The young man was not amused and mentioned that he had learned at Harvard Business School that a customer who is approached within the first 30 seconds is 80% more likely to make a purchase. Bill, unfazed by the Ivy League credentials, called him college boy and suggested he report them to the new department manager, who was supposed to start that day. The young man straightened his tie and revealed that he had just started. He introduced himself as Mr. Casella, the new manager. Bill and Fitz immediately tried to look busy. They pretended they were demonstrating how the supercapacity Megadank 3000 could handle a deck and a half of cards in one flush. Seth Casella looked at the toilet and remarked that it would be good to know if cards ever started dropping out of his backside. Seth began inspecting the store, noting that the stockroom seemed to be in order. When he saw a customer, he immediately went over to welcome them to Berenson's and asked how he could help. He turned back to Bill and Fitz, telling them that was what customer service looked like. He asked a man standing nearby for his name, and the man replied that he was Maxwell McDaniel. Seth introduced himself as the new boss, and Maxwell told Bill and Fitz they could learn a thing or two from this man. Bill asked how Maxwell knew so much, and Maxwell admitted he had been napping in a bathtub nearby. Back at home, the imaginary friend drama continued. Tina told Lauren that she was sitting in Tracy's seat and that Tracy would be back in a minute. Lauren snapped that she was not playing the stupid Tracy game. Suddenly, Lauren realized her sunglasses were missing and then found them sitting on the chair. Tina explained that Tracy must have put them there to save her seat. Lauren shuddered, calling the kid creepy, while Tina simply smiled. The next day at the store, Bill was grumbling to Judy about his new boss. He called Seth a stupid, bossy Harvard kid who was only there because his cousin owned the place. Bill complained that ever since Seth took over, his whole day was filled with actual work like helping customers and doing inventory. He felt like he was coming down with something, but Judy joked that it was just his body rejecting labor. She suggested that since Seth was new in town and had no friends, Bill should invite him over for poker night to warm up to him. Bill was hesitant, worried that his insults might hurt Seth's feelings if they were drinking beer and talking shop. Judy reminded him of a previous boss they had invited over, which had resulted in a raise because the boss thought he had a shot with Judy, or as Bill corrected, a shot with him. Poker night arrived, and the Miller living room was filled with the sound of shuffling cards. Seth was winning big, boasting about his luck after revealing 3 tens against Bill's pair of 2s. Seth thanked them for the invitation, saying it was great to throw off the name tags and be friends. He teased Fitz, calling him the chubby guy who came in late, and then mistakenly called him Fritz. When Fitz corrected him, Seth decided Fritz was easier to remember anyway. Seth talked about his career, saying the store was just a first stop after college and not a place he wanted to see himself at 40. Bill muttered that was why he avoided mirrors. Seth tried to backtrack, saying he did not mean to insult them, but rather that he enjoyed hanging out with simple people because it was relaxing and he did not have to think so much. Bill's eyes narrowed at the term simple people, but he kept his cool, even when Seth won another round with 3 queens. The game was interrupted when Brian, Bill's son, arrived home late from Model United Nations. Seth was surprised to learn Brian was in the club and revealed that he had been in it too, representing Latvia. They bonded instantly over a video game called Dragon Boss. Seth offered to show Brian how to get the druid's sword in the Forest of Fairies. Bill and the guys were left at the table while Seth and Brian went to play. Bill grumbled about losing his money and his friend losing his name to a rich kid. Hours later, Judy walked in to find Seth and Brian still playing. Seth announced he had been knighted by the Supreme Council of Warlords. Judy told the warlords it was bedtime and told Seth he had to leave. Seth tried to argue, and Bill defended him, but Judy was firm. Seth then subtly reminded Bill that if he stayed late to play, he might not make it to work on time the next morning, and as the boss, he would know exactly who else was late. Bill quickly changed his tune and told Brian to finish the game. The perks of Brian's friendship with the boss began to show. Bill started coming in late and skipping inventory. Fitz was furious, accusing Bill of using his own son to get ahead. Even Maxwell McDaniel tried to get in on the action by bringing a young boy he claimed was his little brother from a Big Brother program, though the boy quickly revealed Maxwell had lied on the application. However, the situation soured when Brian started staying out late with Seth to see documentaries. Judy was furious when Brian came home late on a school night. Brian argued that Seth was a great influence because he was successful and educated. Judy decided that Seth was a bad influence and grounded Brian, banning him from seeing Seth. She told Bill he had to stand up to the little jerk at work. The next Saturday, Bill was forced to work a grueling shift during the store's Porcelain Days event. Fitz told Judy how Seth had been riding Bill hard, giving him the worst shifts and the toilet returns window as punishment for the ban on Brian. Judy, filled with protective rage, went to the store to confront Seth. She found him and called him a jack nut in front of everyone. She told him that Bill was a hard-working man who did not deserve to be bullied by a scared little boy in a suit. Bill was worried he would be fired, but Brian, who had snuck into the store, heard the whole thing. Brian realized that Seth was indeed being a jerk and told his father he did not want to be like that, even if Seth was smart. He decided to drop Seth as a friend. To their surprise, Seth was actually intimidated by Judy's outburst. He allowed Bill to take the rest of the day off as long as he took Judy home with him. Back at the Miller house, life returned to a different kind of normal. Tina announced that Tracy was no longer her friend. Lauren was relieved until Tina introduced her new friend, Jeannie. When Lauren began to insult the imaginary Jeannie, Tina looked at her and said that Jeannie thought Lauren was a nasty, snotty little brat. The cycle of childhood imagination and sibling rivalry continued, leaving the Miller family exactly where they were meant to be.